The late afternoon sun scorched the cracked pavement of a quiet, small-town gas station. Heat shimmered in waves as vehicles pulled in and out, engines rumbling and tires crunching against the gravel. The smell of gasoline hung thick in the air, mingling with the faint, greasy aroma drifting from a roadside diner across the street. On the surface, it looked like just another forgettable day, until something happened that would carve itself permanently into the memories of those who saw it. At pump number 4 stood a lone woman. Her aging minivan rattled as it idled, sounding as tired as its owner. Her name was Marissa Cole, a single mother hanging on to life by the thinnest thread. She couldn't have known that within minutes she would be targeted by cruelty, only to be rescued in a way she never could have imagined. But before we dive into the heart of this story, pause for a moment. If you believe in compassion, in fresh starts, and in the power of people to step up when it matters most, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to heart-touching stories. Your support helps us bring more stories that remind us the world is still filled with light. Marissa's day had already been brutal before she even reached the gas station. Her diner shift had dragged on longer than expected, and her paycheck had come up short once again. That morning, her little boy had handed her his back-to-school list, longer than her wallet could handle, and she had no idea how she'd provide everything he needed. Her van, patched together with tape and prayers, was sputtering on its last fumes. She had scraped together the last few dollars in her purse, just to buy enough gas to keep it alive until the next paycheck. Life had pressed deep grooves into her still young face. Yet, despite her exhaustion, her eyes carried a flame, a quiet determination only mothers fighting for their children know. She stood at the pump, pulling coins from her worn-out wallet, when 3 men swaggered out of the convenience store. They weren't locals. Loud, tattooed, and dripping with arrogance, they wore mocking grins like masks. One tossed an empty can onto the pavement, and then their attention fixed on Marissa. That's when their cruelty began. They drew closer, taunting her appearance, jeering at her dented minivan, making jokes about her being all alone. One even reached for her purse, dangling it mockingly as if she were nothing more than cheap amusement to kill their boredom. Marissa's hands shook as she gripped the nozzle tighter. Her chest felt like it was locking up, fear pressing down on her. She glanced around. The lot was nearly empty, no one close enough to help. The image of her son waiting at home flashed across her mind. She couldn't fall apart. Not now. Still inside, she felt like breaking. Their laughter grew sharper, bouncing across the asphalt. And then a sound rose in the distance. It started as a faint rumble. Low, steady, like distant thunder rolling in. It grew louder, heavier, until the ground itself seemed to quiver beneath it. Marissa noticed first. She turned toward the road, and her breath caught in her throat. Charging in like a storm were nearly a dozen motorcycles, chrome glinting in the blazing sun, their engines roaring like wild animals. The very air seemed to shudder as they pulled into the station one by one, forming a wall of thunder and steel. It was the Hells Angels. The thugs froze, their smirks slipping away. These bikers weren't just men on machines. They were legends, wrapped in leather and carrying an aura that silenced everything around them. Their leader, a tall man with a beard streaked silver and eyes like sharpened steel, swung off his Harley. His vest carried the insignia that made people think twice before testing him. His heavy boots struck the pavement with authority, each step radiating a message. You've crossed the line. The bikers moved forward, forming a half-circle around Marissa, shielding her without saying a word. The men who had mocked her moments ago stumbled backward, their voices cracking as they stuttered excuses. One tried to laugh it off, but his trembling gave him away. The leader didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His gaze alone carried a threat sharper than any weapon. The meaning was clear: leave now, or regret it forever. Within moments, the 3 bullies scrambled back to their car, tripping over themselves as they fled. Their tires screeched as they tore out of the lot, leaving behind nothing but dust and the sour stench of their cowardice. Marissa's knees nearly buckled. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath until it left her in a shaky gasp. The bikers stood their ground for a moment longer, making sure the danger had truly passed. Then slowly, the leader turned to face her. For a second, Marissa feared judgment. Her worn clothes, her battered van, her fragile state laid bare. But what she found in his eyes wasn't pity. It was something far deeper: respect. With a single nod, he told her, "You're not alone. You stood strong. We've got your back now." One biker slipped a few bills into her hand without saying a word. Another popped open her van's hood, adjusted a connection, and topped off her oil with a spare can he carried. They didn't seek thanks. They didn't need recognition. They simply acted, quietly, firmly, compassionately. Tears spilled down Marissa's cheeks, but they weren't from fear. They were from relief, gratitude, and the kind of kindness she hadn't expected in years. For so long, she had fought her battles alone. But today, strangers had stood beside her. The engines roared again as the Hells Angels prepared to leave. Before mounting his bike, the leader looked at Marissa one final time. His words were short, but they carried the weight of an oath. "Keep going. You're stronger than you think." And with that, the thunder rolled away, their bikes vanishing down the highway like a storm retreating into the horizon. Marissa stood clutching the gas nozzle and the folded bills, her heart pounding with something new: hope. The struggles were still there, the bills still stacked high, the night still long, but something had shifted deep inside her. For the first time in a very long while, she felt seen. She felt protected. She felt reminded that goodness can appear even in the darkest of moments. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Heart-Touching Stories. Help us spread these reminders that kindness, courage, and compassion are not lost in our world. And before we close, share your thoughts below. Do you believe moments like this, where strangers step up for the vulnerable, still happen today? Your voice matters here, and your words might be the inspiration someone else desperately needs.